Hello and welcome to another episode of the Full Force Weekly, brought to you by GeneralsJoes Reborn.com with me, Christopher McLeod AKA Diagnostic 80. For today's episode, I'm joined by the awesome Patrick Notpicard Stewart. In this regular video series, we round up all the week's news in the world of G.I. Joe. What is it, my good man?
It's the Full Force Weekly.
Yes, it bloody well is, and we have got good solid G.I. Joe news to talk about this week. Lots of it as well. Only 3 stories technically, but lots to get stuck into. Pat, how was this week for you? I mean, were you keeping up with it, or were you just getting hammered at work, or both?
It was a little bit of both. Yeah, I was trying to delve into the G.I. Joe to keep myself going.
Keep you sane. Keep you sane. Yeah, I can imagine.
Yes, that's right.
Well, we have got quite a few little nuggets to get stuck into, so why don't we get right into it? And we'll start then in computer game news. Not only did news break this week regarding Hasbro's brand new gaming studio Atomic Arcade being set up in Raleigh, North Carolina, but a number of interviews with the head of the studio, Ames Kirshen, revealed plans for their new venture to focus solely on a AAA G.I. Joe Snake Eyes computer game. Kirshen discussed their plans to build the studio from 6 developers currently to 20, with a number of positions being posted on the Hasbro Jobs website. The game has been described as a bold new take on the G.I. Joe universe, starring the legendary character Snake Eyes. Kirshen went on to say in an interview with Games Industry that the game was much more edgy, contemporary, mature take on G.I. Joe to really suit what they felt needed to have this IP and game to resonate with a modern consumer. Kirshen continued by saying, "It was a process of getting them comfortable with the direction we wanted to go with, that this is the type of content the market is looking for, that people grew up with this IP, and those who grew up with this IP back in the days of Real American Hero at its peak in the 80s and 90s are now fathers and uncles, and these are the mass consumers of these AAA consoles and PC platforms, and they want content that grows with them." He also jokingly hinted at a follow-up to the game in an interview with Triangle Inno, replying to a question about where the franchise was going after Snake Eyes. He said, "Snake Eyes 2, massive lols merchant." Anyway, lots of interesting points in this article which you can check out in the description below, as well as a number of positions Atomic Arcade are looking for. Pat, firstly, are you excited by the talk of a more in-depth, edgy and contemporary G.I. Joe AAA game?
Well, I think after Operation Blackout, it's obvious that I'm interested in a G.I. Joe game, even if it's a little clunky and not exactly something that's going to appeal to everyone. I think that where Operation Blackout did well was to have some things in the game that were enjoyable for the fans, those of us who are looking for G.I. Joe content. There was some, pre-production material on Classified that was hidden in there as bonuses.
And can I just point something out? At one point, they accidentally posted concept art of the movie Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow when they first revealed the game, and they were in the note, like the kind of like the extra book sections with all the images of concepts and stuff. They were in there in plain sight, nobody noticed, and well, obviously somebody noticed because they someone from Hasbro noticed, or someone from Paramount noticed, and it was taken down like almost like the next day. And nobody noticed, no one batted an eyelid. It was brought to my attention, and I had to keep my mouth shut about it further down the line. And I went back to the video I recorded of me playing the game on release day, like the second it was released, and there it is in plain broad daylight, Snake Eyes from the movie concept and Storm Shadow from the movie concept. And I thought that was just so funny, and it just snuck under the radar as well. But sorry to interrupt you on that one, but I just thought it was a fun point to make there.
Yeah, no, that stuff's interesting. I mean, that's kind of where Operation Blackout was. It was a great game for those of us who are looking for nuggets of G.I. Joe information and nods. I don't think that it was a great game for a casual video gamer or a diehard video gamer to pick up and then become interested in G.I. Joe. And so that's where I'm hoping that these video games can succeed, because, you know, you've got to have something that's a great game that stands on its own.
Yeah.
And, you know, Operation Blackout's definitely not the worst game I've ever played, but the controls of it aren't as friendly as I would like them to be.
Yeah, I had issues with. I feel like, you know, there's like longevity is important, and it's one of those things that, you know, if you're going to go back and play it again, then you know you've got something, you know, that you want. I tend to space out my playing on these kind of games because I enjoy the campaigns and I want to make the most of it. So it'll be like I'll do a mission, and then if I complete that mission, then I'll just save at that point and then come back to it like a couple of days later, or maybe even a week later, sometimes longer, and I just draw that out and out and out to make the most of it, because I know once it's done, unless it's something really good, I'm probably very rarely going to go back and play it again.
Yeah, I totally understand, which is why I always would go back to the Taxian G.I. Joe game. I played that over and over and over. I think we talked about that.
We did,
but I'm hoping that this is a good game in and of itself. And the fact that it's focusing on Snake Eyes, yeah, Snake Eyes gets a lot of perhaps overplay in G.I. Joe, but
who's Snake Eyes? He must have been a bit of a low-tier character. I don't think I've ever heard of that one before.
Right. We're going to have our core character hump on video games now. It's just going to be one at a time.
Every 5 years we get a AAA game. Oh, it's what, Duke next, is it? Oh, brilliant. Cobra Commander? Oh, okay, fine. Yeah.
Yeah, but no, I think that it's not a bad idea, because sometimes if they're focusing on too many characters, the mechanics of the game may actually need to... Yeah, because it needs to adjust for so many of the different things that you want to see from so many of the characters. So if they just do Snake Eyes, you know, maybe then they can go to a Snake Eyes 2 or a G.I. Joe game where they add some things in later on the backbone of a game that, you know, is fully developed based on one. Just focus on the basics now and just do Snake Eyes well, and then maybe move on to the other characters.
That's a good point. Like, if it's really, really good, then it does breed more. And also, like, you know, that it doesn't matter if Snake Eyes is the lead in it at that point for someone like me who's more of a, you know, a downtown guy, or a or an ice cream soldier sort of dude, or you know, I want to see more flak vipers in the, you know, that kind of thing. But I will say that I think it would be really good if they followed in some footsteps of previous successful games, right? You look at Call of Duty, right, which is massive and continues to keep churning games out every single time. But when they did like mission-based stuff, and it kind of, you jumped from, like, you didn't jump as necessarily a character going on to the next mission. You do that mission, and then you'd be like almost, you know, like transported to a different part of the globe where you're a different character doing a different mission, but it's like in relation to each other. And I think that would be a good way to go with it, where you're not always, like, you know, they did it in Operation Blackout in a way, where it was like you just kept changing the characters for the specific mission, which, like, again, wouldn't bother me. But the problem, like I said, with Operation Blackout was that it just wasn't, it wasn't broad enough. It was too, like, oh, we're going down this hallway and that's it. There's no, you know, that's just how it is, you know. There wasn't even like a hint of, oh, maybe there is more going that way, or maybe, you know, even if there wasn't, it was just so like the walls were up and that was the only way you were going. And it's very restrictive and very, like you say, gets monotonous and very repetitive. And you kind of want a game to like really be different, and you want the storyline and the things that you're doing and interacting with to change. Like, you don't want to be just doing, right, you've got to shoot these 3 guys each time. Sometimes you want to be interacting with the cutscene, and you want to, right, at this point the guy's just jumped on you and you've got to tap this button to, like, you know, stab him or something else with what I was doing there. But do you know what I mean? Like, you've got to do something else to, like, you know, to mix it up a bit.
That's very true. Not only was it a very linear game, it's not like we needed a super open world game, but there were no side quests or anything like that.
Yeah.
And as you were saying, the mechanics that you were going through were constantly just the shooting at people, and, you know, click the button to target. Because I remember we talked about that.
God,
it was very hard to lock on to anything. And then once you were like, no, you can kind of reposition if you tap the R button, you know, the right trigger. and then it, or whichever button.
I went through that whole video not targeting anybody, and then when I found that out, I was like, oh right, yeah, there we go. That's better. That's easier. My God.
Yeah, no, and then you told me, and it's like, oh well, that does make things easier. It's not really. I don't remember that being in the tutorial or anything. So that was kind of part of the weakness of that game, is that the mechanics of it were, and that it didn't really show you, hey, you know, whereas a lot of games will even have graphics for the targeting, that just kind of did a quick camera movement.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, I noticed that does work.
Yeah.
Great.
I would also say though that I did get a lot of enjoyment out of Operation Blackout. I know you did too, but like I feel like, you know, we're picking apart a lot of the faults on it, but I really did enjoy it when it first came out. I enjoyed getting through, you know, the whole all the missions and everything. But yeah, I never at once gone, oh, I want to go back and play that now, because I feel like I did everything you could possibly do in it. And, you know, I'm just going to be doing it again. So it's kind of not...
I turned on my Xbox the other day and I saw it pop up and I thought, oh, yeah, I never finished that game. Which is not...
You never saw the kind of post-credit kind of hint thing, did you? No, okay, I won't say anything. You'll just have to go and play it now and finish it. Okay, well, with it being a kind of edgy contemporary game, I also brought up a lot of the images from the concept art that we saw last year, because Ames Kirshen said that this game is actually based on a pitch that he brought to Hasbro over a year ago. And I was assuming that the concept art they showed on that Wizards of the Coast Hasbro kind of like investor live event thing that was on last year, I kind of thought that maybe that had something to do with the concept pitch that he was putting forward. So I'm thinking that his Snake Eyes pitch probably relates to the concept art we saw. I'm not saying that concept art is going to happen, but it would be pretty cool if they went in that direction, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it was really hard to tell what was going on here. This looks like an actual game whenever we were looking at this concept art. So, I mean, it looks kind of like a cel-shaded game. Like this is a cutscene using the character models from something. Yeah, I'm kind of surprised. And Snake Eyes does look very different. Kind of has
with the prosthetic leg and the red slats in the visor and everything. I thought was a really nice touch as well. There's a really nice design thing going on there with Snake Eyes, I thought.
Do you think that they will continue forward with that? Because if this was just done kind of as his pitch to Hasbro of a, hey, this is how I could take things and do things differently, that doesn't necessarily mean that his concept is how they're going to want to go forward with the character. Absolutely.
I think obviously there would have been other things in that pitch like storyline and maybe even some other imagery, maybe even some actual kind of, you know, mocked up gameplay and stuff like that, kind of reskinned some things to kind of show what it might look like. And obviously, yeah, you're right. I mean, Hasbro could have looked at that and gone, we love this, we don't want this to happen, we don't want this to happen, but we like what you're doing here. Let's kind of rework this a little. Yeah, that's absolutely what could have happened, 100%. And we'll only really know, I think, after the games come out, maybe after a few interviews with Ames Kirshen himself, to see what that pitch actually looked like. And, you know, maybe we'll see it in the game in a similar way that Operation Blackout showed all of the concepts and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's true. So it kind of is making me readjust my expectations, hearing this is just kind of a pitch rather than development.
Yeah, because, well, I think when it was over a year ago that it was pitched, there are only 6 developers on it now. But we did hear that the games had been in development, specifically for G.I. Joe as well, for a number of years at that point last year. So it could be like a coming together of lots of different things, couldn't it? It could be like the Ames Kirshen pitch over here, development of other games over here, possibly coming together and merging a little bit. That could be something that's going on. Or we could be at stage 1. It's hard to really gauge, but the fact they're talking about it, they're putting that information out there, they're doing all of this kind of media for it, makes me think that, I'm not saying it's all the way along, but at least probably has a year's worth of development on it.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, usually video games are built on like a platform. What's the word I'm looking for?
An engine.
like on an engine.
Yeah.
On a gaming engine. So
it's unreal that you didn't remember that, Pat.
You're right. That's actually how my brain went. I was like, Unreal Engine. That's the word. It's actually the steps that my brain took. But yeah, it's. I mean, I'm curious is that how he did things? Probably. I would assume that you throw some very basic things into a tool that you're used to using. Maybe even. I don't know. I haven't played enough video games in the last 10 years to know whether or not. I mean, what else has he worked on that maybe he even adapted something?
The Batman Arkham series, for one, which is very, like, for me, very highly rated game. I really enjoyed
I mean,
that.
if you're going to focus on one character for G.I. Joe and you're going to focus on Snake Eyes, and then you have somebody who's done Batman Arkham series, that's adding up to being pretty good for G.I. Joe. I mean, they need to do something different because the last time G.I. Joe as a video game worked, sad, but for me it was that Taxan game.
I knew
that really was the last time.
When did the arcade game? That was before that, wasn't it? Or was it? No, the arcade game was
in
the 90s.
The arcade game was afterwards, so
yeah.
I guess I should count the arcade game.
The arcade game was amazing. I loved that. It's fun.
It's good,
but that's one that's like it's repetitive, yes, but it's short enough that you can go back and enjoy it again. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not like if it was like a long, drawn-out, repetitive kind of scenario, I'd probably have less fun with it.
It's just so misleading. Because you're not really beating anything. It was you who told me that, right?
No, I don't think I did told you that.
Yeah, apparently with that game, as you put the number of quarters you put in, only determines how many lives you lose across the course of the game. But as far as the damage that you're doing on the bosses, how many you're hitting, how much you're hitting them, that determines how many points you get. But the game is just on a timer. It runs the same amount of time no matter what. You don't beat the bosses any faster. If you never hit the boss, they still turn red. They still die whenever it's their time to die.
I did not know that.
Yeah, apparently it's just a matter of
staying alive.
The game has started, and you are trying to avoid dying.
Yeah, so you just as long as you stay alive.
People, as you shoot people, you might shoot the bullets coming out of them, and you just try to stay alive the whole time and get points. And that's basically the way that game works.
I never noticed that. That is a great mind F. And now I hate the game. Thanks, Pat. Well done.
That's what I was told. And honestly, last time I played, it seemed to be the case.
Where was
the up down?
I was going to say, was it at the up down with everybody? Because that was so much fun. I love the fact they put that in that bar.
Oh yeah, for sure. The up down in Iowa is really good. I mean, they have
every single time we go there. It's actually the last time we went there was a G.I. Joe game, but the time before that, I don't think it was in there at that point. But it's always the Turtles arcade game, the X-Men arcade game, and then G.I. Joe. And I'm just happy for the rest of the night after completing all three.
Name a game that you want to play. They have it. I mean, they had the one from Wreck-It Ralph.
Yeah.
The relatively new game. They've got games I've never seen. They have Mario Kart on free play. The Uptown in Iowa in Des Moines
it's one of the best bars I've been to. One of the best bars I've ever been to.
It's really awesome.
And it's full of everyone that's just enjoying themselves playing computer games and being nerds. And it's so good. Yeah, I agreed on that. Agreed.
Yeah, and Killer Queen. That was the game.
It's a dope game. It's a dope game. I also I love the other one I love to play, Operation Wolf. Any of those.
Star Wars, the arcade game, that's there too.
It's so dope, that one, isn't it? It's so good. Anyway, right. Well, that's enough of computer game news this week. But I would say it's looking pretty good for those wanting more edgy, more kind of adult G.I. Joe computer game in the future. I think that's going to be coming very, very soon. He's already mentioned about aiming to us kind of like age level, should we say? I'm not going to give the age level away. That can stay G14 classified. Next up then, Pat, and in Walmart Collecticon news, On Thursday, Walmart dropped images and pre-orders for all 4 retro classified card backs featuring Baroness, Lady J, Destro and Gung Ho. The pre-orders for Lady J and the Baroness had been live for over a week prior to the event, but we were all surprised when Destro and Gung Ho were added to the landing page just prior to the official event time. Hasbro Pulse also put a small quantity up on Pulse after the drop on Walmart and allowed members to get involved early before opening it up to everyone a short while later. The pre-orders sold out on Pulse, but were up for a significant amount of time on Walmart's website and are still available now, links in the description if you want to try your luck still. It was great to see official product images of the figures, especially Lady J and Gung Ho, who are sporting some significant changes to their previous classified releases. Pat, those accessories really look good now, don't they, now that we can see them?
Yeah, for sure. Lady J has her knife still, right? And then a backpack. And yeah, she's got a really good loadout. Lady J is, right, the camera and that javelin launcher thing that you called out before, I think.
Yes.
I think Lady J is a definite buy. I mean, we talked before about how I could see some people skipping Baroness and Destro for sure, just because they're a lot like the ones that came before. But the winners here, definitely Gung Ho. And honestly, like, I was giving it some thought, and how many characters so far in the classified line do you think have done as well with having that classified update as well as the vintage style to appease both ideas design wise? I mean, Roadblock, there's so many Roadblocks. I'm sure that you could pick one of each for him as well. But Gung Ho really has done well at doing both. I don't know. What do you think? Is there another character that has done as well?
I agree with you, because when the first Gung Ho came out, I was really impressed. I thought, oh, I like these updates. I like his new little kind of mohawk under the cap. I like the new kind of design gear that he was wearing. I thought, yeah, there's some really interesting kind of design elements going here. I love the deco. I loved his weapon loadout. I love the fact he could carry everything on his backpack. So I was kind of like, I was in on Gung Ho, and I was like happy that he looked really good. This comes out and I'm like, wow, I'm just being spoiled now. Like, it's like I've got the both versions of this. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and I feel like I said this on the News Burst Live the other day. I said when it first came out, I just assumed, because I thought it was an obvious thing, that we were going to get classic renditions of characters at 6-inch form in some way alongside the classified series, right?
Yeah.
I just assumed that was always on the cards. Clearly it wasn't. Mainly, I imagine now, and having spoken to and interviewed Lenny, Corey and Emily in the past, that budget concerns had a lot to do, or not budget concerns, budget had a lot to do with a lot of the constraints put on them for the amount of figures per wave, you know, as well as COVID. But we're talking like, you know, had they had the scope of just a standard normal rollout, we still would have been getting like 3 or 4 figures a wave. We wouldn't have been getting, you know, like them dotted around like they kind of did in the end. But I still think we wouldn't have been getting 2 concurrent lines going side by side, which is what I just assumed was going to be happening. So now we've got this retro series. I think it's a good way of giving us the best of both worlds, even if I don't think Hasbro are going to do that. I think this is a good opportunity for them to give us your vintage, like, you know, actual like spot on vintage in 6-inch, but at the same time we're getting the classified series running by the side of it with slight updates. I kind of wish that was the thinking, but you can tell that Hasbro are probably trying to do everything in one narrow space as opposed to opening it out into 2 specific lines, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, but at the same time, I do kind of wish that they had gone a little more all in. Now that, you know, there's going to be another one of some of these characters, the 2 of this wave anyway, or these waves, the 2 characters out of these 4 that I kind of wish that they would have gone a little more all in on are Lady J and Baroness, because we saw that Baroness that had like the purple hair, and, you know, if that's how they had gone with Baroness before, now that we're getting Baroness again, I think that there'd be
Yeah, more significant
more of
differences.
a difference and more variety between the two figures. And the same thing with Lady J. I think that whenever we saw that figure, we kind of knew that with those field variants that they had done, that maybe Lady J had been toned down, some of the gold coloring probably removed, some of the multi-tones in her outfit probably were a little less drastic. You know, so it's hard to tell where else that character would have gone if the focus hadn't been put a little more on vintage. Now, I kind of prefer the vintage stuff myself.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I've always felt like G.I. Joe needs to move forward while also taking care of that stuff from the past. So yeah, at this point, hindsight being 2020, I don't think that whenever they put out that Lady J that they knew that they were going to get a chance to do her a second time.
Yeah.
I don't think they knew that.
I don't think so.
But if they had, hindsight being 2020, it would be nice to change it up a little bit and make them even more different.
Yeah, because the fact, like you say, the fact that that design change happened early and then kind of like slowly, you could see it happening throughout. And then we even have that evidence of the bat in the factory, the bat parts kind of like, we didn't see the rest of the bat, which it tells me that there's probably a Operation Blackout style battle android trooper out there in parts form. Do you know what I mean? Like somewhere, maybe in a dumpster in a factory somewhere, or I don't know. I feel like because that happened, they've almost hindered themselves in this retro line cardback wise.
Yeah.
Like you say, you know, it's almost in, rather than just going full force with two concurrent lines, a classified series and a classified like classics or classified vintage, or I don't know, declassified, I don't know, whatever you want to call it. Did I just say undeclassified? I think I used, we'll say undeclassified, which is effectively classified. I think we would have definitely more strong urges to go out and get the Baroness again. Although I would say with the Baroness, there is that added bonus for a lot of people who really struggle to get her in a motorcycle. For those people that struggled, maybe didn't even manage to get her at all, now there's another opportunity to at least have a Baroness in your collection.
Yeah, but if she'd had that purple hair and whatever other details, the gold details with that motorcycle, I think that for how hard that figure was to get, I think that it still would have sold through very, very quickly. And then whenever this one would come out, you know, we would have kind of the best of both worlds. I mean, it's not like I want to encourage complete double dipping either, you know, because sometimes things can feel that way, where it's like, oh, well, you got me to buy the Baroness with the extra motorcycle, and now I'm just going to buy the one that I wanted more, you know. So I don't know. I think that there could be a happy medium, though.
How good though? It's a no-brainer to me that if they just did actual recreations of vintage figures on vintage card backs at 6-inch, that's the line. And that goes on for ages at Walmart. And Walmart are happy because they're selling tons of figures.
Yeah.
You know, it's an exclusive thing. So it's, you know, there's some give or take, I imagine, in that, because obviously Walmart are obviously pushing to have more made. Do you know what I mean? Like, I feel like if that's running and Classified Series is running, maybe they thought they didn't want to dilute one or the other. Maybe they don't want to, like, make it so that, you know, well, this is more successful, so we'll just do this now. But then isn't that what they're kind of doing anyway? Like, they're kind of, like, testing the waters to see what people want, and it turns out most of the fans wanted the vintage in 6-inch anyway. Yeah,
so it kind of makes me feel like, you know, there's a little bit of a danger of, you know, if we become too accustomed to them doing a standard classified and then also a vintage one later, that people will just start skipping some of the standard classifieds.
Possibly.
But they're not, I can't imagine them doing like barbecue. There's no reason to do that.
Yeah, because it's exactly, because he is effectively exactly as it was. Bat.
Exactly.
Bat. Barbecue.
Bat. Alley Viper.
Alley Viper.
Alley Viper they could get away with, though, because they could do one of the other colors.
Also, Flint is a good one they could do on card and just do a different secondary.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
Just like a more basic shotgun shell suspenders scenario.
Yeah, but they've done really well with Lady J also playing into her accessories.
Yeah.
That's a big part of the appeal of this figure, and also the way that they've painted the faces. Because I have to say that I really loved the first Baroness, but this one looks even better on the face.
Yeah. And that's another thing we always have to look forward to, isn't it? It's the improvements in tech, the improvements in the face printing technology and all that kind of stuff. It does get even better and better. So when they do a reissue, at least you know, well, you hope there's going to be some good improvements on there. So I would have to say though, I think Lady J is significantly different enough for me to want to be like, yeah, I've got to get Lady J, because the deco is very different. The obviously black hat, the brighter green deco on the clothing. She's also got different, yeah, like you said, like a completely different face effectively now. And then all the new accessories. That is a new figure to me. Like that is almost, you know, just reusing some of her parts in a sense. And in the same way, you know, Gung Ho obviously is almost all new, I believe, apart from, I thought he had the same chest cut as Bazooka, the new one, you know, that kind of like curvature rather than the rectangular one. But in looking at some of the images of the product, and I'm not sure if it's just early mock-ups, but there is a rectangular cut in the chest. So I don't know what we're going to see on the final figure. That'll be something I have to wait and see when it actually comes through. But yeah, I'm interested to see what actually they do with that. But obviously, new head sculpt, new stuff, new deco, looks incredible, big time. Destro, to a degree, I think, is the best they could have done with the figure is what they've done by giving him the shiny helmet, wahey, the shiny gauntlets, and then the kind of all red collar, even though it's the same design with the padding inside and the line and the stitching and all that kind of stuff. They've made the whole thing red. So at least they've gone to the deco degree of making him, you know, as vintage as possible. So I feel like I'm happy to get him too. I'm happy to get Lady J. I'm happy to get Gung Ho. And Baroness, for me, honestly, it's a matter of getting it to complete the line, because if I didn't have that affliction with Classified, I probably would just maybe pass on her. Do you know what I mean? Not being different enough.
Yeah. No, I totally get that. I think that the other thing that really is a standout question here is, are they going to make some of those stands available separately?
I wonder if there's any like accessory packs in their kind of idea, you know, in their thought process. Maybe in like some sort of deluxe set they might throw a bunch in, you know, like I don't know like how that would work. I'm not sure if does the obviously the Vipers are in the Classified series, aren't they? So they're not necessarily retro card backs. So I don't think they come with stands. But if they did,
I think the retro card back's the only stuff that we've seen with stands.
Yeah, definitely. I'm kind of excited, but yeah, you're right, because you want a few more, don't you, so that some of the others can utilize them. Personally, I'm against stands. I know it sounds ridiculous.
Stand against them?
Yeah, thank you. I stand against them, you genius. Unite with me. Anti-stand. Make an anti-stand. What the hell? I kind of like my stuff to just fall over randomly off shelves, so does Phoebe's. So yeah, no, I suppose I like displaying them naturally is what I'm getting at. If the figure can't stand for whatever reason, get it, then yeah, I'll use one. But for the most part, these figures are so well balanced that I've never had to really need them. And I've always been a little put off when it is a stand that sticks out. If it like, I quite like those Marvel ones they used to do for Legends, where they were like hexagonal and they would lock into each other. There'd be like three. Did you ever remember those? Did you ever see those?
Well, those were from Heroescape, actually. They actually just borrowed those from a previous existing Hasbro toy.
Interesting. That's cool. But I did like those. I thought they were quite, you know, because you could then like lock loads of them together and like they could stand and be on like a platform. It was nice. It was, I don't know, it was just a nicer idea than just, you know, a black stand with a foot peg on it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's true too. There are a lot of options already out there, but there's a little bit of a desire for some consistency across some things.
Nostalgia.
And yeah, I guess the retro stuff is going to probably have that consistency of always coming with those stands. We'll see how long this lasts. Hopefully it's successful and does better than the 4-inch retro line at Walmart did, which we've talked quite a lot about. I think my only thing with Destro, and I don't know what's the problem that they can't do it, is that I really would have loved a vac metallized head.
Is it just shiny paint then?
I think it's just shiny paint, isn't it?
Okay, I wasn't sure. I just assumed it was chromed, but if it's not, then
maybe it is. Maybe it is.
I don't know.
I guess I'll wait to get it in hand. It looks like it matches the arms and the hands very well, which you know, there's no way that they could back metallize those.
Oh, that's true.
That's imagine.
Yeah.
And the head is probably too soft of a plastic, because to get the ball, everything to pop together, I don't think they could have easily done that. They would have had to have done a little bit of probably a new tooling of some kind, I would think.
Yeah,
in order
definitely,
to get
definitely. You see, I'm happy that they've just gone that extra mile with the shiny paint, honestly, because like that, to me, that feels like, okay, like I'm happy with that. I'm happy you've done something different, because they could have just released the same Destro, really, couldn't they?
I've always wondered if vintage Destro was ever considered to have like chromed hands as well, because if you look at the card art, that doesn't match actually how the toy is.
Yeah,
because the card art of the toy is what they're matching here, which has you know, the silver gauntlets,
yep,
then also the silver hands, and the vintage figure has just the black plastic for his hands.
Yeah.
So I always kind of wondered, did they consider having a little more chrome on vintage Destro, because they probably could have chromed out either just the forearms, or, you know, gauntlet forward, gauntlet in hands, or maybe they could have chromed the whole thing and painted the elbows. I don't know.
Yeah, totally. That is an interesting point. We'll have to kind of do some digging on that and see if there was.
I've never seen any evidence that they were going to, but it really makes the card art stand out, and I question why the hands were silver to begin with.
Yeah. God, could you imagine chromed hands that would just break literally flake off immediately?
It would make them thicker, probably.
Yeah, couldn't get the gun in. You'd push it in, you'd break it, the thumb would snap off. Game over. Game over.
Yeah.
I will also say, obviously, the no grenade. They didn't go the extra kind of mile and put the grenades on his left gauntlet, which would have been a nice touch. But again, costing. I'm pretty sure that was costed out. So, but yeah. Right.
Yeah. I mean, I think they focused a little bit more on like making Gung Ho perfect and spicing up Lady J a little bit. But, you know, Destro didn't quite get too much new stuff here.
Yeah. Anyway. Yeah. Still, how did you get on with your pre-orders, by the way? Did you manage to get
easy?
Everything? Yeah. Easy.
That's how it felt for me. I already had Lady J and Baroness on pre-order
from like a week ago.
Hopefully those come through.
Did you get the money back email about those? Like they refunded Adam and myself. Like I think Adam got refunded like 3 cents. I got refunded 2 cents. I don't know why it was different, but we got emails saying you've been refunded on some of these orders a little bit because the price has changed or something along those lines. Did you get anything like that? Did anybody, by the way, who ordered in advance of...
Oh, yeah, the price of your items has dropped.
There you go.
Know what it said?
Yes. What does it say? 2 cents or 3 cents?
2 cents.
Yeah, mine was 2. I'm sure Adam said 3. I might be wrong. But we probably all got the same email then in that case. I was worried, though, when I got that email. I'm like, the price has changed? What? Went on it thinking it had been cancelled or something? No, it's still good. Fingers crossed on that, but we've got backups. Don't worry about it. Plus, they'll be in stores. My goodness, you wouldn't be able to move for Lady J's and Baronesses. I guarantee it.
I'm curious as things go back to normal, what is going to happen with some of those Walmart exclusives? Because in the past, it was like I would find tons of any exclusive at just one Walmart in the area.
Yeah,
that's how things worked, you know, pre-2020, and you know, now the way that all my Walmart exclusives work is I sweat over getting them on pre-order, and then those pre-orders are never filled, but I find them easily in the store.
Yeah.
That's how things have worked.
That's how it goes
for
now.
the past 2 years.
That's how it goes. And also, I will add that Walmart have not got the best reputation for delivery. Even here, I've had 2 things delivered from Walmart. Both times, they've left it at a different building nearby, taken a picture of it, and just left it outside. And then I've seen the picture and gone, that is not where I live. Like, it's not anywhere. So I'd have to go out and like do like a scavenger hunt to try and find the bloody thing. One time it was taken in by whoever was at that place, so I had to go into that place, awkwardly ask if they'd had any Jada minifigs delivered to them, and they're like, do you mean these? I'm like, yeah, that's it. And also this dog food, which wasn't mine but was supposed to be delivered to our building, so I did the good thing and I took it to our building anyway. Didn't eat it because I'm not a dog. And plus Phoebe couldn't eat it anyway. So, but like, I was like, well, how does, I'm not a fan of that. And then also, it just had a sticker on it. It wasn't in a package or anything. It just had a sticker on the card and was delivered at like that. And I'm just like, wow. Like, no, there's just 0 Fs given when it comes to that stuff with Walmart.
Yeah, I had one time I had my Walmart delivery that I ordered just from Walmart.com. It was in a Walmart bag just hanging on the handle of my door, like on my doorknob. Like somebody went shopping for me and left my stuff. It's like, well, that's fine. But I kind of wondered like how they were scrambling to find stuff or what they were doing. There's not like any sort of, mailing label on it or anything.
Nothing.
It was like somebody from the store was like, oh, I got to go deliver this to Pat's house.
Probably walked it as well. Probably walked in.
It's about 4 or 5 miles, so
yeah, easy. Run it, jog. Yeah, it's a mess, and I know a lot of people have had a lot of bad experiences with dented, banged up, messed up kind of product and stuff. So fingers crossed. I'm not that precious half the time, but these are going to be like specifically carded figures. Like obviously I might pick up a Gung Ho and a Lady J as well, like an extra at some point down in the future to open, but these are like, one of the reasons is because they're on these gorgeous cards, so like that's another aspect of it to me. Anyway, that's enough talk of Walmart CollectorCon, which is actually going on today as well, as we record this on Friday. Have you noticed anything happening today, Pat, at all? I didn't see anything before we jumped on necessarily G.I. Joe related.
No, I really just woke up just in time to hop on today, so I did not really look at anything.
Check out 80s Tees as well, just in case there's any artwork that's been revealed. I love the fact that we haven't said that for ages, and I say it like it's an ongoing joke. Right, okay, next up then, guys, and in our last, and probably, again, maybe this is our biggest news of the week, it's Super 7 news. Yes, that's right, Wave 3 of Super 7's G.I. Joe Ultimates dropped in the week, and my word, are they amazing. The new wave consists of Storm Shadow, Scarlet, Doc, and the Cobra Trooper. Each figure comes with a bevy of weapons and accessories with homages ranging from the vintage figures, comics, and the cartoons, as they always do. The pre-orders are still live on Super 7's site, with each figure costing $55 and shipping around spring of next year. Links in the description if you want in on these beauties. Right then, Pat, let's start with Storm Shadow on this one, because obviously we spoke about this on last week's weekly. I forgot what the weekly was called then, even though I said week. We spoke about this on last week's weekly.
The Full Force Weekly.
There you go, thank you. We had the Storm Shadow teaser, and we were kind of umming and ahhing as to what we were going to see, other figures, what homages. We even kind of had a little back and forth about what even they were going to do with this particular forearm, and you got it spot on here. It's going to be an actual removable, separate, alternate forearm for that homage of issue 21. For some reason, I thought like it might have been easy for them to just create some sort of wrapping that came off, but then obviously you'd have to have another wrapping that goes on that was complete. But I don't know. I'm not sure what would have been cheaper or what would have been easier. Clearly, it was making this forearm. But you were right on that one, Pat. What do you think about that Storm Shadow and all his accessories?
Well, you were right about Excalibur, so that's in there too.
I wasn't.
Yeah,
I didn't call it being glow in the bloody dark, though, did I? How awesome is that?
That is pretty cool. Yeah, that's definitely a nice touch. And it being Super 7 glow in the dark means that it's actually going to glow in the dark. That's what that means. Sometimes you get the glow in the dark stuff and it's like, well, if I get, you know, a 1000 lumens light, close my eyes so that they're acclimated still for the dark, shine it, have a pitch black room, and open my eyes, I can kind of see it.
Yeah.
That's how some glow in the dark stuff is.
Yeah, been there.
But not the Super 7 stuff. The Super 7 stuff works great. So as long as they do it the same way.
They use actual radiation, that's why. Everyone that gets Super 7 products are going to like be kind of suing them for getting cancer in the future. But yeah, correct.
Yeah, these designs lean very cartoon, which makes it a little bit strange to me that you have the comic book reference for Storm Shadow, but I think they probably wanted to work in the Arashikage logo wherever they could on Storm Shadow, so it just kind of made sense to have that torn arm look. And it does make me wonder what else we may get in the future if they're, like we talked about them doing a Snake Eyes with that as well.
Yeah.
I still think that would be cool, but like the overall look of the figure, yeah, he comes with a sniper rifle that is also from the comic book.
Yeah.
But overall, this is leans more cartoon to me than comic book. Just the design of the face, the look of his eyes, the way that even the folds in the fabric are.
Yeah.
Looks more cartoon to me.
I mean,
that's not a bad thing.
Yeah,
I think that we need to have those cartoon designs as figures. So
I've always just assumed that anyway, because Super 7, it's always been like, this is off the screen, and then obviously there are just things thrown in there from other media that link to that character. So yeah, I know what you're saying though. Like it's not, if they try to bridge some sort of balance between the two, the design then doesn't look like one or the other, does it? So I think that's probably why they do it. Like that.
And the other half of that's difficult, I think, is the fact that whenever you're dealing with a cartoon, you're dealing with a specific character model.
True.
And whenever you're dealing with a comic book, it's
drawn 60 different ways. Yeah, totally.
Right.
Totally.
And it's whichever artist was on the comic that month.
Yeah, that's so true. So true.
It would be very hard to make action figures based on the comic book and have it broadly look like the comic.
I like the fact they did the diver mask as well from Excalibur 2. I thought that was a nice touch. That wasn't something I was expecting. I just expected the sword and that was it. So to give him like an alternate head and it to be that is quite fun. Like it's like, you know, the whole scene is sorted then. Like it's, you know, he's got his two kind of action figure swords which are going to go in the sheath in the back. The arrows will go in the quiver. You got the bow, which will go on the back as well. So I suppose the action figures called out a little bit here as well, isn't it? With the nunchucks and the weapons.
Yeah.
One thing I will address though is that I incorrectly stated that there's a broken sword in there, but it's not. It's just a short tanto sword. For some reason, I think it was like in a chat with some of the guys in the Full Force group. I think we just assumed it was broken, and we were talking about it being from issue 21. It was only after you mentioned, I think, that that's something that I don't recall happening in issue 21 that I was like, okay. And then we did a bit more digging into it, and it was like, oh, actually, this is just a short sword or like a dagger almost, isn't it? So, or tanto. So yeah. Yeah.
So I don't really, now I'm kind of curious where that is from, because obviously the original figure came with the, was it daisho? Is that the correct term for the pairing of a katana and a wakizashi, I think? Am I right?
You know more than I do on that. No, if you are, you can get away with it, because I have no clue.
Yeah, it's for a match pair. I think I'm not wrong. I think that, I don't know, somebody can correct me, somebody who knows more than I do. But the katana and the wakizashi are what came with the original figure. So I don't know where the tanto is supposed to be from. Is that, maybe it's a reference to the kind of knife that he has tucked in on the figure, because there's a knife there as well as throwing stars?
Could be. I was hoping that the throwing stars would slot into his belt, but I don't think that's the case. I think that's a molded piece on the belt.
Yeah, and I'm curious to see, there's a lot that I'm curious about here.
Backpack as well.
How right, the backpack, is it permanently affixed to the figure?
Could be.
How much stuff fits in the backpack? You know, is there a spot for the nunchucks? And are the nunchucks going to be, like, is the cable attaching them is that a rigid plastic, or is that something that's going to be
on the original? Right. I'm just going to quickly look at what's molded on the back of the on the showing part of the backpack. Like if you put it on
there's a peg, and there are kind of like registration support spots that kind of make the bow, like that just kind of guides where the bow, how it rests.
Yeah, so the bow's probably the bow and the arrows I imagine go in the quiver. The bow probably locks onto the back, like you said. 2 swords will go in there, no worries. And then it's a matter of because it does look like the knife or the tanto is tucked into his belt, so that's that covered. The other thing on that, because there's no tanto on this one. I'm guessing it's because they're going from they're going closely from the model sheet rather than the action figure on this one. But I would say that all those assumptions are probably going to be the case. In terms of the ninja stars, they're probably just loose, and then you can use them in his obviously his throwing hand, in his ninja star throwing hand.
Yeah, because he does have those hands that are kind of shaped so that he probably can do that, as well as some that, so he has a couple of different options, I think, for holding those that'll look really good.
Yeah, totes. So, okay. Well, that's Storm Shadow. My goodness. Again, some really cool, just some really cool stuff in there with him. I will say, actually, I was surprised. Not that a lot really springs to mind, but I was kind of almost expecting a few more kind of homages tucked in there. But it's still a lot of accessories. But I think when I look at some of the others, and it's there's so many call-outs in there, I was kind of surprised there wasn't a little bit more in there for him. Yeah,
that's true. But will we get another Storm Shadow at some point? I don't know. If they're going very cartoon-based, it isn't like a Storm Shadow version 2 is something that I guess they could do things based on the little clips that we got in commercials as well. So there's no reason why they can't do a Storm Shadow version 2.
The Super 7 have precedent for doing direct comic homage as well, literal, the whole figure. So reaction, all that stuff. So it's not all about the cartoon necessarily. So we could see version 2 Storm Shadow. We could see
Ninja Force, Deke, Storm Shadow.
Absolutely. And that would be brilliant. But anyway, let's go on to Scarlet first and talk about that. Now, Scarlet was another one that we'd called. So we called Storm Shadow, obviously, for obvious reasons, because we saw a whole teaser of him. And we also said that we expected Scarlet because Brian Flynn had said in an interview a while back they used the Baroness body to do a Scarlet body, even though neither of those figures had been revealed or discussed at the time of that interview. So with Scarlet, anything surprise you, or is everything kind of fully expected on this figure?
Better than expected. Knowing that he said that thing about the Baroness kind of made me wonder how the shoulder pads were going to look. How much was this reused from Baroness?
Well, I think he was talking engineering, wasn't he? More than
more than
aesthetic.
Sculpting.
Yeah.
So if there were any concerns for that, I think those concerns have been addressed. We're not getting 2 different head sculpts. I kind of thought that may happen.
Yeah, I was hoping for the short.
Well, we're getting multiple head sculpts, but not different styles.
We both thought, didn't? Well, you pointed out first you wanted to have the short hair action figure kind of thing, just as an homage to that. But then also, I noticed that the heads they're not crazy different. The 2 that are kind of standard interchangeable alternate heads, it's I think one is scowling a little bit more, kind of a bit more mean,
furrowed eyebrow.
Yeah, thank you. And then the other one's a bit more neutral. And then you've got the headset one, which I think is a call out to when she's in the Sky Striker, when she's in the Skyhawk, that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah. I would have liked a helmet on Scarlet. That's something that we never see ever. Even though there were a couple times in 1982 that we saw Scarlet wearing a helmet.
Yep.
That would have been really cool to have gotten that. But, I can't complain. There's a lot of cool stuff in here.
Yeah, so she gets the kind of like, it's like a secondary quiver, so we know this comes off. That goes across her, and then obviously she can put her crossbow bolts in there. She's got 3 crossbow bolts, and then she's got 3 kind of trick bolts, I'll call them. One I recognise... Well, actually, one I don't think I called it, actually, because I thought the rope one was from that first mini... Well, not the Mass Device miniseries, where her and Destro are struggling in that, and they're falling towards the volcano, and she passes the... or she gets the crossbow to him so that he can use the one with the rope on it. But it's completely different looking. Like, the rope literally comes out of the back of the crossbow bolt in that scene. It's a different head. It's almost like a suction cup rather, or like a rectangle or a tube rather than an arrowhead. So I think it's from a different episode personally, but I couldn't work out which it was. I'm gonna have to watch them all again today, aren't I? I'm gonna just have to watch them back to back until I see it.
Just watch every episode.
Every episode till I see it. And the other one, however, one of them does look like another one that's used in that episode, in that scene, in that actual fight with Destro. One of them with the kind of big, chunky, you know...
The blunt end to it.
Well, the blunt end and the big, chunky kind of arrowhead as well look like they're in that scene too. So, I don't know. I'm going to have to do more digging on that. Plus, I've got a feeling Brian's going to be doing an interview soon, or he's going to be doing one of those things where he does... And here are the, you know, the figures that we're bringing out and showing all the details. That's got to come soon, hasn't it?
Yeah, for sure. And hopefully he makes some call outs. I don't think that he addresses every specific homage, you know, or does a rundown of all of them. So if anybody has some ideas that we didn't mention, I would like to see those in comments. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see what all he covers when he does that.
Walkie-talkie.
I think that...
Sorry, I was going to say the walkie-talkie is probably just a standard one that we've seen multiple times in lots of different episodes. And probably even the comic as well. I'm sure she's used a walkie-talkie in the comic. 2 different crossbow sizes.
Yeah.
One toy, one cartoon.
Yeah, I'm not sure. That could also be something that is from 2 different designs from the cartoon. I'm not really sure on that. I thought maybe it changed because she looked very different in that initial commercial. So
the interchangeable heads are described as neutral, smiling, and headset. So that makes a lot of sense. So the smiling one and the neutral. That's interesting. The smiling one is the one with the furrowed brow, I think. I can't really tell. Loads of hands, which is great. 1 quiver, 3 times thermal arrows. So those top 3 are thermal. 1 grapple arrow with rope. Fair enough. 1 jammer arrow, brilliant, and the other one's the incendiary arrow. So that is really interesting.
Those are the differences between a thermal arrow and an incendiary arrow.
Thermal arrow just warms you up a little bit when you're cold. It's like basically what it does is it fires a pair of thermal underpants at you, puts them on you, and you're sorted for the rest of the day.
It keeps your drink warm.
Yeah, it just wraps it around your can that you're holding. The jammer is pretty interesting because that looks like the one with the massive, like, with the massive kind of the arrowhead on it. Looks, for me, I think the jammer one, because it locks in and then it jams the, you know, the electric stuff. The incendiary, I'm going to guess, is the flat kind of like tube one. Just at a guess.
Yeah, that's...
Because they're written in order of like how you see them as well.
Correct. Yeah.
Communicator. The M16 rifle. Could you elaborate on that a little bit more, Pat?
She has an M16 rifle.
In the cartoon, right?
I don't remember, actually, where she is using that. I can't recall. It's like I can picture Scarlet with all this stuff, but can't quite remember where it's from,
Yeah.
or even the walkie-talkie, the communicator.
I mean, I'm literally going to do a deep dive on the cartoon later and just literally trying to find all this stuff. Okay, well that's Scarlet. I think we're going to be here for months otherwise, aren't we? We'll do a quick chat about the packaging. I really love that packaging. I'm not sure that we really have to go into much detail about it because we've seen it before in all the others, but I love that idea of the kind of sleeve, the dog tag name, the window option as well, so you can have them displayed. It's a really nice touch, that.
Yeah, I could see some people wanting the figure to just be in there by itself without the accessories being so obvious. But I think that this is kind of that's most of the appeal of the figure, is all the stuff that comes with.
Yeah.
And I do like how Super 7... I noticed when I was in the store the other day, I know we talked about the G.I. Joe packaging and how well that figure just kind of hovers in there.
Yeah, yeah.
I realized when I was in Target and they have some other Super 7 stuff that earlier reaction figures are just rattling around with the bubble. So they have done a lot of work on their packaging recently, and I don't have any of the other Ultimates. I don't know what they feel like, and I'm not going to buy a figure for $55 that I wasn't already going to buy.
Yeah, totally.
Just to get an idea of what the G.I. Joe ones are going to be like. So I'm curious to see, because this is obviously a mock-up. This is a digital packaging.
Yeah, yeah.
But we'll see what it actually looks like when it's done. It's all good, though, what their idea is.
I've seen a lot of the Turtle stuff in hand, and it is it's just beautiful. It's Unreal Engine, mate. It is Unreal Engine.
The joints are pretty good.
I haven't actually played with them because they're all on display in Andrew Frank's office.
Okay.
So I go in there every day and just drool over the thing, and then he has to clean up the... Anyway, moving on to the next character in the lineup, and that is Doc. And this was a great reveal because we had discussed, obviously, the last character we'll get to. We kind of discussed that as an option in multiple waves. Doc was one that I feel is like a deep cut, but not really. Do you know what I mean? It's a weird balance here, isn't there, with Doc? Because he was so prominent in the cartoon and comics.
Yes. Again, I'm looking at this stuff and wondering exactly what it all is a reference to. Two of the accessories, though, look to me like they're a reference to the 25th anniversary Doc.
Some of that, I think some of that's the case, isn't it? Wasn't the Baroness had like a... It's almost like the 25th does some design things and they add details, and then that's the one that's taken to this level as opposed to the original vintage in a way. Yeah,
because Doc had a gun in a holster, I believe, on his hip, and you didn't really see anything but the handle of it. But now that the 25th one has turned that into a flare gun, that's what it is now in this figure as well. And the pouch that he has actually has those two other, pouches.
Pockets on it, yeah.
Yeah, this, I don't know, messenger bag? What do you call this thing? I guess they probably have a name for it.
It's his handbag. You can say that.
Satchel. His satchel. It's Doc's clutch.
I love that. Yeah, So I know exactly what you're saying.
Strap, so it's not.
I know exactly what you're saying on that, bud. Totally. And it's good that you notice those two particular aspects of that, 100%, because that's something that would have just completely passed me by. Having owned and still owning all of the 25th releases that ever came out in carded form, I don't think I am. There's not much I actually opened unless I got two of them. So I very rarely got to actually enjoy a lot of the 25th stuff. It was all just bought and on card. I literally have it all in storage back in the UK. As it came out, I was buying it and loving it, but I never actually got it out and played with it. So yeah,
I did that with the Star Wars Power of the Force in '95. And after that, it was just like, no, you know what? If I'm going to have something in the card, I want to have opened it as well.
Life's too short. I totally understand, but it was just that's what I was doing back then. And yeah, so I've never really noticed any of the details on a lot of the 25th stuff. So yeah, I love the fact that it's a flare pistol. I love the fact that we've got the satchel with those little pouches. Now he comes with some really interesting things. A lot of people were concerned about the fact that he's got a rifle and that he's got this pistol. Well, one, it's a flare pistol. Two, the rifle is actually because he is seen in the cartoon rocking that rifle on multiple occasions. So that's why he's given that. And also, I think all the Joes are going to be given the, you know, the snow job rifle to. I don't think all of them have had it actually, but it's like, it wouldn't be surprise me if we see that like multiple times throughout the run.
It needs to be fairly common. I mean, especially with these being cartoon designs for the most part.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's why. And it wasn't a fact that Super 7 just don't know the history of G.I. Joe. They're doing these based on things that have happened and been seen. So that's why. Even though a lot of people were kind of, you know, saying he's a pacifist, he shouldn't have that kind of stuff. And, well, you know, he has it in the cartoon.
Isn't that Lifeline?
Lifeline was known as a pacifist in his file card, wasn't he? I'm not sure if Doc was, but I'm sure Doc is said at some point to be a pacifist.
Okay. He has. I like the fact that they gave him the rubber gloves. That's a neat way of.
Isn't that great?
Reusing, yeah, the hands, because I'm looking at them and it's actually the positioning of the hands isn't quite the same as any of the other hands. Like that right hand has its thumb open a little bit more than any of the other right hands.
It's actually,
but it looks like it's a mirror image of the left hand.
I was just going to say, it's you can see it's yeah, it's almost like they've basically, for the right gloved hand is an opposite of the left top right hand, and the right gloved hand is a mirror, well, is exactly the same as the one above it. So you can see that they've just kind of like mixed it up a little bit in you know what the hand shapes do, which is quite interesting. I guess one is so that you can hold the rifle. So, you know, the kind of trigger finger of one hand, and then the left hand is like the, you know, kind of like the cradle
underneath.
Yeah,
yeah,
and also to operate the flare mortar as well. Everything's just a flare with Doc. He's just, you know, wants everyone to know where he is at all times. The one thing I will point out, though, is the brilliant edition of the comic book that he's got from the cartoon, which is hilarious. And what a great little edition. This is why I enjoy this line, is for those little aspects. You know, things you look at and you go, when did he have that? And then you do a bit of research and you're like, I remember now.
Is that radio on the same channel as a previous figure? Am I making that up?
I don't know, but that would be awesome if it was. I'm sure they just used
802.
Maybe they've just used the exact same walkie-talkie. Do you know what I mean?
Maybe.
Yeah, I need to cross-reference all of these, don't I, with what's come before already. But anyway, the last thing I will talk about on this one, obviously we've got multiple different heads there. We've got the yelling head, so you can recreate his card art, which is perfect. And you've got kind of two, like, again, like a neutral and I think more like, again, a meaner kind of face, alternate heads. You got the green kind of tint in the glasses, which is another great touch. And then finally, you've got the kind of medic briefcase that opens up with all those nice little kind of molded touches in there with scissors, tape, gauze, all that kind of stuff. Brilliant.
Yeah, I just looked it up. No, it's not on the same station, but that is the same radio that comes with Duke. Well,
that's cool that they're changing they're changing little aspects of it. That's really cool.
No, maybe not. This one says 802. Is it 802?
Yeah, 802 it looks like.
Okay, so he can talk to Duke.
Brilliant.
And he has the same radio.
Brilliant. Nice touch. Nice touch. Okay, then finally then, Bud, we have the Cobra Trooper. Now, this again was one we kind of expected. We didn't call for this wave, but was one we've definitely talked about in the past with them doing, especially with them doing army builders like the Bat already. So what do you think about this one? Because I personally think this is like almost perfection from the screen.
I really like that they added the shoulder strap for the sniper rifle, so it can just be back there. And the guns that they chose from the cartoon, yeah, this one's pretty perfect. I like this one a lot.
We've got the well, also this is another interesting thing that people were talking about was how the neck is going to kind of operate on the two different head swaps, but it looks very clear, like you pull the neck piece out on like a ball joint or like a ball socket, I would say, not like a joint really, and it locks in there, and then you can change the head, which is then you know, articulated on top of that neck.
Yeah, which I think was not something that I would have necessarily expected. I would honestly think that they maybe would have wanted to do a variant figure, but instead you're getting your options all in one package, which is really nice.
Really good idea, that. And also, obviously, again, you've got like a very pasty white male under there as well, and then you've got a person of color as well, which is really good. So again, there's a good. I get the feeling there's probably going to be more skin tone versions of this particular trooper in the future. And also, people were saying, "Oh, it would have been great if they'd had like a mutt head or a flint head." And I was thinking, well, you've got a flint head in Wave 2, so you can just put that head on this, and you've got Flint in disguise.
Yeah, that should work.
Bearing in mind that the neck color matches Flint's, but I probably will, or it'll be close enough, I would say. But then, obviously, if you've got, when Mutt eventually comes out, which I imagine will happen, because imagine Junkyard. You could do Junkyard with an alternate head that has his eyes from when he has his mind taken over, and he's all like, even though I hate that episode because it makes me sad, happy at the end when it all is happy at the end, but like it's heartbreaking when he's trying to make Junkyard remember who he is. It's so sad. Anyway, that's by the by. Coming back to the Trooper, Laser Whip. We've seen that multiple times in multiple different episodes.
Yeah, I know that it's come up several times. It's a good addition to the figure. It's a very. This is probably the first time we've seen it, though. I can't remember another time where where anybody has actually made it. Hasbro didn't include this at all in any of the figures, which it's not the first accessory that I would want included with a Cobra Trooper, but they're not including just one accessory; they're including multiples. So it's a great addition.
And a couple of very interesting additions. Obviously, we've got the little kind of communicator there as well. But then we've also got this bomb from Cobra Quake, I think it was. The one that Bazooka has to try and, diffuse. And again, interesting for the Cobra Trooper to have this. But I suppose what they're doing, I've got a feeling that back at Super 7, their HQ, they've got like a big board of all the different figures they want to do. And they're trying to work out the best way to disseminate all of these different homage accessories to get as much of it into the line as possible. And I've got a feeling that this is they're playing a long game here.
Yeah, I'm certain that whatever ideas end up in the package are not the only ideas that they had. So it would be neat to see what was on the drawing boards, what was something that they thought, not necessarily even cut from the figure, but what are those things that they are hoping to work in the line somewhere.
Absolutely. Well, I think that's all our discussion on Super 7, Pat. How have we gone so long again? What is wrong with us? I suppose there's been some good, there's been a lot to discuss on this episode, though, hasn't there?
Yeah, I do wonder why nobody's made a long sleeve T-shirt with a wide neck collar, to represent the Cobra Trooper.
With two fake straps down the side and the Cobra.
No, I don't want those. You can add those yourself, but this would actually look like the actual shirt.
You can probably get one like that.
Probably. You probably can.
I'm gonna buy you it for Christmas. Anyway, you could always just get that onesie from Gear Homies. Have they done a Trooper yet?
I don't remember, but that would be like a hoodie and everything. Nah.
They do all sorts of different clothing on it, though, don't they? They all do all sorts of stuff. Anyway, that was last week. That was last week's news.
That was a week ago. I don't remember already.
Delete files. Right then, let's get stuck into the shout-outs finally and call it a day, shall we, buddy?
Sounds good.
Hey there guys, just wanted to let you know about an app that I've been helping to develop for a few years now called HOARDAR. But what is HOARDAR, I hear you scream? Well, a number of years ago I discussed a project with a good friend of mine and now co-owner/developer about an app that could help collectors of all shapes and sizes. I'm talking about the shapes and sizes of the collections really, but also people. The app would be a place where you could share your new items, build collections and sub-collections, or just browse the feed to see cool things. Well, we made it. We tested it for a number of years, and now it's out there for you to enjoy on iOS or Android devices. You can upload a single item at a time at your own pace and slowly build your collections, you can post status updates that could be related to your collections, like getting a delivery or posting a scene in which you can tag items in that image if you've uploaded them in the past. You can add tags to your items in order to easily search for and find them, and of course to add them into your respective collections. You can like posts, comment on them, or start a conversation with a fellow collector, directly message users you follow, and even add items you see on your feed to your want list. If you prefer to use your computer or laptop, have no fear, you can use the website browser version and even utilise the awesome inventory option, allowing any user to change certain details, add notes, upload bulk items from spreadsheet files, and download a CSV of your entire itemised collection. We made this app for collectors, and we hope that you enjoy using it as much as we enjoyed creating it. Now get to hoarding.
Shout out to Calling It a Day.
Is that your first shout out?
Yes.
Calling It a Day. Any other shout outs for you, pal?
And Philip, and to having you, I'm hoping a good week. That's what shout out to next week.
Come on
hoping
next
it will
week.
Be better than this week.
Come on next week. You've got a lot of making up to do. I'm going to start with a big shout out to all my family, to my wonderful wife Kate, love you all. It'll be Mother's Day in the United Kingdom on Sunday, so I'm going to shout out my mum, and I hope she has a lovely Sunday. And yeah, so on next week I'll be shouting her out again to say that she had a Mother's Day in the United Kingdom.
And shout out, I'm sorry I missed one, shout out to my younger brother whose birthday is shortly, because I did my other brother earlier in the month.
I was going to say.
Now my younger brother now. Sorry, did I interrupt?
Shall I shout? You were done. No, I'm done.
I thought you reached a pause, and I had not done my other one. So
it's fine, man. It's fine. I was gonna, in that case,
I didn't want to forget.
I should shout out my dad for the third time running, shouldn't I? It was his birthday about 7 weeks ago now, but I just keep bringing it up. Yeah, cool, man. To Brian Sauer, obviously, for the awesome Winter Ninja Force Storm Shadow version 3 graphics. Also, we'll be changing soon, Pat, because we're going to be coming out of winter, aren't we? Very soon. Probably
hopefully.
Fingers crossed, my God. Shout out to Eric Aranya from Boss Fight Studio fame for giving me his Extreme Sets Autobot Arc diorama. I've put it to good use, showing off Unicron and a bunch of assorted bots. I'll throw a little video up on the side of that. That Extreme Sets Dio is unbelievably cool. It's really nice. If you haven't been able to get one, I think they're on their website. Just find Extreme Sets. They're really cool dioramas. Like, they're cardboard, but they're really hard wearing, and they're huge, and they're so good. So many different configurations. Really cool stuff. So thank you, Eric. Also, big shout out to Andrew Franks from Boss Fight Studio, who gave us a bunch of fun free stuff, including a turtle blimp, which is over there on our turtles diorama, I would say. Woody.
Is that the exclusive new one?
No,
the new one that's a recreation of Playmates.
No, it's it's an old one. He was kind of getting rid of some stuff. It's not the old vintage one. It's the one that was like the Nickelodeon era, I think. You know, like the
okay.
I can't remember what year it was. Like 2000 something, early 2000s. It's the one that looks like a turtle. It's like shaped like a turtle. But yeah, I'll show an image of it anyway. Also, he was going to get rid of Woody from Toy Story, so that was for free. So I wanted to make sure he didn't. You know, like Toy Story always killed. Like, I can't watch it anymore. It's just too sad. Like Toy Story 3, I haven't cried that much in a film for so.
I haven't watched Toy Story 4. My feeling is if Andy's done with the toys, then I guess I am too.
It just kills me, man. So yeah, I get attached to this stuff. So I saw this Woody, and I'm like, I can't let him.
There needs to be like a Toy Story, not to spoil the end of Toy Story 3 for everybody, but there needs to be a Toy Story movie like 10, 15 years from now where Andy regrets his decision and he becomes a collector and has to find all of his old toys again.
Mate, you just pitched Toy Story 16, and I think it's going to be it's a beauty. I'm going to watch that anyway. He also was going to throw away this, which well, not throw away, you're just giving it away. The Warlords of War, Captain, is it Cobras? Yeah, which is this little guy here. These are really cute, these little figures. I've actually got the fridge one as well that they did, which is really cool. And they're really cute. They're
I just have the Cobra Commander.
They're Glyos as well, so you can kind of pop the bits and pieces off.
Or the not Cobra Commander, I should say.
Yeah, you can't say it's not. You can't say that. What else did he? Oh my goodness as well. Yeah, I yoinked a huge Bucky collection off him as well, including a batch of carded figures and loads of cool loose stuff as well. My Bucky Dio is going to go crazy. I can't be bothered to reach it. There's too much to go through. But like the 2 vehicles, loads of loose figures, and then a whole run of carded stuff. It's nice. I went nuts. So yeah, I've got Blinky now with my boss fight Bucky O'Hare figures in the diorama because yeah, we never got Blinky, so which is sad. But anyway, thank you Andrew Franks for all that great stuff. And finally, shout out to Paddy and Brian for their recent reveals of their awesome upcoming Kickstarter, Total Action Force Volume 2. They've very graciously given us the exclusive drops on all the new prints that they will be offering in one of the pledge levels. The first one has been revealed on our social pages, an homage of the cover to Action Force Weekly Issue 1, featuring Flint, Jay and Footloose leaping out of the page with the help of a giant explosion. Cannot wait to see the rest. The campaign should be with us very soon at the end of this month. To our patrons, listeners and viewers, thank you so much for all of your amazing support. The Newsburst lives this week were absolutely brilliant. Like I did 3 of them, I think, in the end, and so interactive. Everyone's so many comments. It's ridiculous. It's hard to keep up. Just love all the support, guys. I've got a Patreon one that should have happened following this recording. So to all our patrons, thank you so much for all the support. We really appreciate it. Pat, to you, buddy, for jumping on and doing this extraordinarily long. I've got so much work to do again, haven't I?
Yeah, I'm sorry that it went on this long.
It's not your fault. We just had lots to talk about. Anyway, thank you, buddy. I will see you on the next one. That brings us to the end of this episode. Thank you for watching the Full Force Weekly. Massive thank you to my awesome co-host, Patrick Notpicard Stewart. See you next time. And as always, 1, 2, 3, Full Force! Beautiful. Beautiful. Make sure you get involved with the discussion by liking, sharing and commenting on these videos, and as always you can keep up with the show after listening by following on Twitter @TheFullForce, liking the Facebook page facebook.com/TheFullForce, and if you would like to contact the show you can message us on either of those platforms with feedback and questions. We also have a Patreon page, so if you want to show your support for the show, see your name up in lights on these videos, or enjoy exclusive bonus content, then check out patreon.com/TheFullForce podcast, or click on the link on any of the posts this podcast appears in. Full Force!